Hello and welcome. This is Jessa Francis. Welcome to the Caim Circle podcast. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. I have a very thought-provoking topic to discuss today. Today we are going to be talking about people pleasing. We are going to be looking at the origins of people pleasing, the impact it can have on your life and your well-being, and how to shift towards empowerment. So, if you are like me and you have lived your life as a people pleaser, if you have always considered yourself as the empath who needs to take care of everyone else's feelings, if you have over and over and over again hurt yourself and abandon yourself because of this need to try to take care of others, this is the episode for you. And even if maybe this doesn't resonate, maybe you know someone in your life that needs to hear this, or maybe you want to learn about this so that you could support them, right? So that is going to be the topic for the day. I'm going to go over these different things, share some of my own personal story, and let's go ahead and dive in. Welcome to the Caim Circle podcast. This is your sanctuary. It is a place that I hope for you to feel seen, heard, and loved. I want you to know that you are safe, that you are not judged, that you are not alone. And I invite you to, in this moment, to soften your shoulders, to soften your jaw, to take a deep inhale in and exhale it out. Long, smooth, slow, silky breath. Do a couple more of those and just inhale into the body, into the heart space. Maybe bring your hands to your heart. Remind yourself that you are love. You were made with love. You are worthy of love. It is your birthright to be loved, to know love, to feel love. Welcome in. Welcome into the Caim Circle. Welcome into this space with me. I honor you. I am so grateful for you. And I'm really excited about this topic because this has been a big thing for me. This really, truly has, I have struggled so much in my life, and I have just, in so many ways, abandoned myself in the name of helping someone else, of taking care of someone else's feelings, of building someone else up, right? This has been a big deal. And I'm still, like, let's be honest, it's still something that I actively have to work through. And trust me, I've gotten way better and I'm getting stronger all the time. And it feels so good to finally have boundaries, to know what those boundaries are. But it took work. It took understanding where it came from. It took me understanding myself. And so this here is a chance for you to self-discover, to understand yourself on a deeper level, and to start shifting, right? Shifting towards more independence and that feeling of empowerment. But it takes courage and it takes time. So please come at this with curiosity. Come at this without judging yourself. You are not alone if this has been impacting you. You are not alone. So let's take a few, let's look at a few different things, right? Because there are different ways that society, that our family, that our culture, that they've influenced and encouraged this people-pleasing behavior, right? There's a reason there's so many of us out here struggling with this, because this is something that has become very normal. And so go ahead, and I'm going to, if you don't have a piece of paper to write things down, just listen and reflect on this really quickly. But I will also leave these prompts, these different questions in the show notes for you. But so just a few questions for you to consider, right? What messages did you receive growing up about making others happy? What did you learn about the importance of making someone else happy? Well, let's just break that even down a little further, right? So what did you need to do in order to keep your parents happy? How often did you have to avoid conflict or avoid your own feelings? How often did you have to abandon yourself to make sure that you were tending to someone else? You know, I grew up in a home where my mother was very, she did not want anything to do with any kind of confrontation, right? And my aunts and my grandmother, and it was insidious. It's deeply ingrained, not just from my influence in watching her, but like on a cellular level, right? So think about that. What did you learn about avoiding conflict? What did you therefore have to do in order to do that? Get curious. Think about that for yourself. What were your influences around you? And even then, maybe, like my mother, she was avoidant of conflict, and therefore I became avoidant of conflict. But then a lot of people, they would take it the other way. They would go completely opposite. Or you could be in a household where there's a lot of conflict, and so you're avoiding the conflict. This is the important thing here, is to understand that just because we have a lot of the same experiences doesn't mean that the impact is the same. Two siblings can grow up completely different from each other because they absorb different experiences in a different way. So how did you absorb those experiences? So just looking at the family, right? And seeing that. But then let's think about, how do cultural or those societal norms contribute to those people-pleasing behaviors, right? So there's a big difference in the culture, for example, from downtown Manhattan to, where I grew up in Plymouth, Indiana, in the Midwest, right? There's a huge difference in society and culture in those two different areas, and all kinds of different, downtown Indianapolis versus the little town that I was in, versus one house to another house. So what was the culture that you were raised in? Take a moment and just think on that, right? And then, what role does fear of rejection, fear of abandonment play in your life? So for me, I was a people pleaser vastly because I have what is known as as an abandonment wound. Most people, and I have some podcasts in the past that I've spoken on these things particularly. I'll put those in the show notes as well, because they're a great resource. But typically we have either a abandonment wound where, we're a yes person, whatever you need person, just don't leave me person, versus the humiliation wound, where you're on guard, you have a wall up, you're not allowing anybody in. It's a no, no, no. Don't come near me. And instead of going forward and chasing, you're avoidant, right? And that's also where we can start thinking about our roles in our relationships, right? Because we have these different attachment styles based on these core wounds. So these are really important things to look at and to better understand ourselves and where our certain behaviors are coming from, especially things like this, people pleasing, right? So do you know your core wound? Are you a yes person or a no person? Where do you think these things have come from? And we could have both, right? You could have been both abandoned and humiliated, right? And how are those affecting you on a daily basis? Get curious, okay? Ask yourself these different things. So we can really explore, our childhood experiences in order to do this. We can look at overly critical parents. We can look at, if we were feeling neglected or needing your role in the home as like someone who needed to be a peacemaker to keep the peace in the house, and how these experiences shape us, mold us. And then let's look at trauma as well. There's big T, little t trauma, right? And we can go into all of that. But let's just think about what happens in the body, or what are, our reaction to trauma. It's usually fight or flight. That's what we hear a lot of. So every once in a while we hear fight, flight, or freeze, where we just shut down. But one that we don't talk about a lot is fawn. So there's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawning is people pleasing. So your reaction to trauma could be to people please. That was a big eye opener for me when I found that out. And then we could also look at the role of gender. Right? Of course, there are different gender expectations. Men are meant to be the breadwinners. They are supposed to be the caretakers. But women are also conditioned to be caretakers in a different way, right? We are meant to be the nurturer. We are meant to be the ones that sing the lullabies, that soothe, right? To be actual peacemakers, to help soothe over conflicts, to be the ones that keep everything shipshape. And so we're constantly avoiding conflict. So these are just some different things for you to look at when you're considering the origins of people pleasing. And they're very important things for us to be aware of. This is shadow work. And if you are still feeling like I don't even know where to start, I've forgotten a lot, I mean, consider, for me, for example, I actually had to sit down and have a deep discussion with my mother and interview her and find out what was happening in my life as an infant. And I found out that when I was 3, she went back to work full time after being a stay-at-home mom. And I was abandoned. And it's just that simple thing, right? So where could your core wound have come from? And what could you do? Who could you talk to? What books could you go back to? What photographs could you potentially look at? And we don't always have to know the exact event. We can actually do some reverse engineering right? Like I just knew I had this problem and I wanted to figure it out, and I had to kind of like work my way back. And if you need help here, reach out. It's what I do is I help you understand yourself through your own story. And sometimes that just takes some coaxing, right? But then let's look at the impact on your daily life and your well-being now, right? So here's some other prompts. How does prioritizing others' needs over your own affect your mental and physical health? What's happening for you on a daily basis, mentally, physically, emotionally, potentially spiritually, right? By prioritizing everyone else, right? Are you not taking care of yourself because you're taking care of everyone else? That's a big one. Are you malnourished? Are you not going to the gym? Are you not doing things for yourself because you have it ingrained deeply in you that you have to feed everyone else before you feed yourself? Is that true? Get real with yourself, right? Without judgment, but get real. Ask yourself these questions. So, what patterns of frustration or burnout do we often face, right, as a people pleaser? Right there, we're going to, burnout's the biggest one, right? Especially as mothers. We can't take anymore and we snap. And then we feel bad for snapping, right? Or we get exhausted and tired. Or we get angry, right? What is your reaction to these things? And therefore, what is the level of importance of this topic in your life? Because this is, for me, it was huge. Because I felt like a failure as a mother because I could not take care of them. Ultimately, because I wasn't taking care and loving myself. I had abandoned myself over and over again out of fear of abandonment, which is that's the thing. That's the irony of it all. Is we tend to, what happens is our nervous system is so used to that and has found this baseline and find this safety. These are ancient systems and they want what's normal. So they take us back to that feeling of abandonment over and over and over again, even when we're just abandoning ourselves. And that's where, the importance of keeping your word to yourself is so important. And then let's think, how does people pleasing affect your relationship? What does it look like in your relationship because you don't have boundaries? Because you have not stood up, and how would it impact the relationship if you did? And I think that's the big scary thing, right? So chronic stress and anxiety and feeling unfulfilled due to suppressing your own needs, like, this is a killer. Stress and anxiety, they are impacting you on it truly is the biggest killer, because it's going to lead you to do substances or have different addictions. This is the normal thing, right? As a way of dealing with anxiety and stress. But if we learn to regulate our own nervous system, if we learn to handle stress and anxiety and build a tolerance through it, just like how we did in the very beginning of this episode, by taking a big deep breath, by toning our vagal nerve and giving ourselves what we need to soothe ourselves, because we're always, especially as people pleasers, we're looking for everyone else to come and support us. We're afraid of abandonment because if they're not there to take care of us, then everything is going to crumble. If they're not there for us, everything is, that's the trauma. That's the fear, is the rejection. But what if you rewrote that script? What if you changed that narrative? What if you recognize the power that you have within yourself to regulate yourself, to love yourself, to be there for yourself, to provide what you need, to please this person, you, you instead of everyone else? How would that change the game? Right? And also, think about how people pleasing leads to resentment and strained relationships, because that's ultimately what happens. I ended up, pretty much every relationship that failed for me, it failed because I was this massive people pleaser who never got my needs met. And I built resentment. And I had built up this incredible amount of pain that I was holding, and then shame and guilt for having the pain, which is another podcast, right? But that's what's happened, is we are the ones that are, fawning and fawning and fawning in order to hold things together, or what we think is holding things together. But really what we're doing is we're abandoning ourselves and allowing others to learn that, that's normal. And it's not. And it's not okay. And we have to change that for ourselves. And a big thing here, and this was the biggest one for me, for a long time, I put myself in a box. I was trying to be what everyone else wanted me to be. I was trying to acclimate. I was trying to conform to everyone else. And therefore, I abandoned my own authenticity, my own truth, my own voice, right? In order to be likable. So I didn't want anybody to not like me, right? And so it hindered my authenticity. It hindered me showing up as my truth. And then, therefore, what did it hinder? But my own personal growth and development. I was not being able to give myself fully, truly, with the honest light and love that I have within myself, because I was trying to do something that I was never really truly meant to do. Trying to be somebody that I was never meant to be. I had to get to myself. I had to get to the authentic truth within myself. Therefore, then I could move forward towards personal growth and development in a way that was aligned, right, with what was truly going to bring me joy, fulfillment, excitement. Because I wasn't focusing on external validation anymore, right? Because that's the thing. We're stuck in these victimhood mindsets because everyone else isn't, giving to us the way we're giving, because we're expecting, there is that expectation. If I do this, if I fawn, if I please, if I do what everyone else needs, be what everyone else wants, then they're going to come back. Then they won't abandon me. They won't reject me. They'll be there for me. They'll fill my cup. No. No. It is on you to validate yourself, to love yourself, to please yourself, to find yourself, to be yourself authentically, truly, deeply, to find what sets you on fire, not what everyone else likes. What do you like? And that takes me into that shift, right? The shift forward toward empowerment, toward embodiment of your truth. So, to get yourself started there, let's ask, what are the first signs that you're engaging in a people-pleasing behavior? look back on it a little bit and see, how could you spot when you're acting out of obligation rather than a genuine desire, right? Where can you pick up and recognize certain patterns in yourself? And this was hard. This is not easy stuff, but it's so necessary, and it'll change your life if you take the time to figure these things out, right? So what are those first signs? What are those patterns? Where, what are the triggers? And this is going to take some time, right? You have to catch yourself kind of in the act. You're going to get to a point where now that you are hearing this and aware of this and understanding this, as you go about your day, you're going to recognize, oh boy, there I did it again, right? And you take note of that. What could you have done differently? And it's going to change from situation to situation, right? And so how can you start saying no in a way that feels safe and even respectful? Because we're not trying to hurt anyone. We're not trying to jump into conflict. Absolutely not. Like, I'm still not confrontational. I'm still trying to make sure that I communicate in a non-violent way. So right there, I learned about nonviolent communication. And if you're interested in nonviolent communication, join the Caim Circle membership. We are going to be diving deep into nonviolent communication in the upcoming months. So more on that in a little bit. But that was huge for me, learning how to communicate properly in a way that felt safe, right? And what are some small steps that can help you build confidence in the ability to prioritize your own needs? What are your needs? That's also in the nonviolent communication discussion. So you definitely want to watch out for that workshop, because we're going to be going over your needs, the universal needs that we all have, and then how to communicate them properly so that you can be honored, so you can honor yourself, right? Honor your truth. So, right, we need to oftentimes, just the big thing is slow down. Slow down. That's the best way that I have found to begin setting boundaries. Because instead of just being yes or no, take a breath, and maybe you need to think about it. Maybe you need some time, and that is okay. There is nothing wrong. The world is not going to stop spinning tomorrow. And if it does, you have no control, and it wouldn't matter anyway. It's okay that you need time to take a breath. So that's been a big one for me, is understanding and giving myself permission to slow down. And the next thing is building self-trust. And this one, not nearly as easy as taking a breath, right? Because practicing self-care is self-discipline. Practicing self-compassion is self-discipline. It takes time to strengthen that internal voice. And what it comes down to is following through with what you promise to yourself. When you tell yourself, hey, I'm going to do this, you've given your word. And if you go back on your word, you're going to continually end up feeling like you're not trustworthy, right? And therefore, we don't love people we don't trust, or we have a hard time with people we don't trust, right? And building self-trust is so incredibly important if you are looking for self-love. right? And really you've got to also, there's a reframing that needs to happen, shifting from seeing no, the word no, as like this selfish thing. Instead, it's an act of self-respect. No is a full sentence. No. Get used to it. Get used to saying no. And that's, trust me, it is something that will take you time. And that word, right, saying no, that's a huge win. It seems small, right? But that's going to be something that is really going to help you shift into a whole new world. Is being able to just step back, take a breath, say I need more time, or say no, and affirming that for yourself in the meantime, right? I have permission to say no. That's an affirmation statement that you can turn into a mantra. I have permission to say no. I am worthy of saying no. Those are powerful statements that you can come back to time and time again for yourself. Right? So when we're shifting towards empowerment, here's a big deal. It's going to take time, and it's going to take you doing all of this work. We talked about the origins, the roots of it, the foundation of it. My program is called Rooted and Reaching because you need to understand the roots. You need to understand the foundation, that grounding, that sense of safety, and building that for yourself and understanding that so that then you can, keep going, that you can move forward with that empowerment, that you can reach out into the world. So doing the reflecting is so important. Like just in my Vision 2025 workshop, like we talked about the importance of reflecting on the prior year, right? We need to look at 2024, think about what worked, what didn't work, what happened, what didn't happen, what's rolling over, what do we want to stop in the tracks, right? We have to do the reflection. And then we feel like, oh, now I have what I need to move forward. And so when we look at the origins and we understand the past, this isn't about like trying to fix what's broken. It's trying to understand that, we have lessons to excavate from our life experience. There's nothing wrong with looking at it. I mean, for the longest time, I thought there was something like bad about looking into the past. Oh, the past is behind you. Leave it in the past. Well, no, and yes, you need to look at it. You need to understand it. Not to cling to it. Not to dwell and roll around and waller in it. But to get curious so you can better understand. Right? And then you look at the present and then you think, okay, what is happening in my life now? And how is this affecting me on a daily basis? And therefore, how is it affecting my future? Because this is manifesting in the future, right? It will continue forward if you do not take the time to get real with yourself and see how these behaviors are affecting you in the here and now. And then once you have it all set, then you can move forward. Right. And so these are all just like some really great, powerful ways to help you break free from the old people-pleasing behaviors, like you don't want to keep going with this forever. And, another really great journaling prompt would be, what's one situation where you said yes and you wanted to say no? And how did it make you feel? I'm sure you can think of a lot where you said yes and you really wanted to say no, and what was the impact on it? And then roll it around. Can you think of a time when you did say no, when you stood your ground? How good did that feel? It felt really good. Your worth is not defined by how much you do for others. It is okay to prioritize yourself. It is not selfish. And selfishness doesn't necessarily need to be this bad thing, right? Rethink the way you think. Metacognition. Think about your thinking. Think about how you look at that word. What does selfish mean to you? Selflessness, self-abandonment, tie those together a little bit and see how that feels. So, like I said, I'm going to leave a lot of these prompts in the show notes for you. I would love to hear back about your thoughts on this, what what you think about this. So reach out, let me know what you think about this episode. Do me a favor, follow, like, subscribe, do the thing. Help my little podcast grow. And I would like to also remind you about the Caim Circle membership. For the month of December, if you were listening to this in real time, for the month of December only, it is over half off. The membership is $99 a month, but for this month only, it's $44 I'm giving the founders rate for anyone who joins within the month of December. This is an amazing investment for yourself to help you throughout the rest of the year, and to get you really feeling good and empowered, and to get you on that self-awareness path for 2025. So join me it's only $44 a month. It's an amazing price for what you get, because you get nutrition, you get fitness, you get yoga, you get philosophy, you get workshops, you get a book club, you get community. Like, it is amazing. So $44 a month is a fantastic price, and I would love to have you within the circle. And then my memoir writing program is also on sale this month. And if you really want to go all out, if you are ready to write your memoir, if you are ready to transform your life, join my year-long my memoir writing program, which gets you, not only do you get into the membership and get everything within the membership, but you also get my one-on-one guidance through the writing process, through the navigating of your story. Right? So we're going to be doing the shadow work. We're going to be moving your body. We're going to be breathing, meditating, manifesting, all of it. And this incredible, one of a kind, I made this out. I co-created this with the universe. If you are interested in a memoir writing program, reach out to me for that as well. And if not, I will see you in here hopefully next week. New episodes every Tuesday. Sending you guys so much love. Inhale. Deep, 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 deep. Exhale. Nice and slow and gentle. Soften, 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 soften. And there you go. You are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy. Sending you love. See you soon.